And congrats on being named Pride.com Grand Marshal. I just saw that here. Just saw you tweet that out a couple hours ago, man. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. It's something that's very cool. I'm proud to represent the community. I'm proud to be at the forefront of hopefully change in professional wrestling, and I'm glad to do it with AEW.
Yeah, kind of speaking to that, how would you say that the wrestling world has accepted, kind of you being out and your sexuality? Because I mean, obviously there's an element, kind of the internet wrestling community that's always sort of toxic in one way or other online, but it seems like everything as far as AEW crowds and your peers within the business have been nothing but awesome. But yeah, I mean, how's that experience been for you?
It's been fantastic, and it's been a relief because it's not what I thought it would be when I was I guess back in the closet and trying to figure out everything and being scared to be myself and how that would look like in the professional wrestling space. But the fans have been fantastic. My company's been fantastic. Of course, you're always going to get pockets of negativity no matter where you go. That's just it comes with the territory. You get used to it. You get numb to it. You realize that they're just hateful people who have a lot of stuff that they need to work on within themselves. And you just, hope the best for them and you move on.
You'll be a guest too this weekend at the Toyhio Toy Show. Just up the road here in Girard, man. So yeah, I know there are several pro wrestlers who are avid toy collectors. Do you fall in that category as well?
Oh yes. I haven't been as up on it as I have been in the past. I'm a big Power Ranger toy collector, Superhuman Samurai. I have stuff from my childhood. A lot of times it's me trying to figure out or find the toys that stuck out to me most when I was a child, stuff that my parents gave me for my birthday or for Christmas. I like to go back and try and find them new in the box. So being at Toyhio is pretty cool. Now that we have our own action figure, we get to sign all those. We did Toyhio, I think, last year, Max and I, and we're like, it's going to be so much better when we have the actual AEW figures to sign and seeing people's faces, the excitement bringing them up to us and meeting us. And also we have Billy with us this year, so it's the whole crew. It's the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass together, so it's going to be a special one.
That's awesome, man. What were the biggest toys you were into as a kid, kind of growing up?
It was Power Rangers, 100% Power Rangers. You couldn't move in my room without either stepping on one or tripping over one. It was just Power Rangers, everything. And then once I got into wrestling, I had every figure known to man. So I do still have a lot of them too back at my parents' house. But nowadays I will pick up my friends, and I also will pick up the people that I've wrestled, so I can have a little collection of that.
Nice, man. Were there any that you kind of, because I collected, I was a big on that Hasbro line of wrestling figures. I'm 42, so like that whole Hasbro line of with Hogan and Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man and all those, like I was real big on those. Sure. But were there any ones or any toys back in the day, whether it be Power Rangers or whether it be wrestling, whatever, that you were kind of always on the hunt for that you weren't able to get, or any that you're still kind of out looking for now?
That is a good question. The one I'm looking for now is I had the original ECW ring by the San Francisco Toy Makers. I'm trying to find that new in the box. I've only found it once, but it was astronomically priced. So it was like, there's no way it's going for that much money. But I would love to get that back one day. I remember getting super excited to get it when I was a kid because it was so hard to find in Toys R Us.
Mm-hmm. What was your reaction to getting your own action figure?
I cried. I cried. It's funny because I just happened to look up and it was on my desk. This is the action figure I used to pretend was me. It's the Rocky Maivia figure. So I have that on my desk and it's sitting next to my actual action figure now. So it's kind of like a full circle moment. There's no other wrestler or wrestling figure that I felt looked like me, and I felt like that one did. So that was the champion of my figure fed person that represented me. And then now I could just look back and go, this is really cool. Now I have my actual action figure.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So take me back to kind of your beginnings in professional wrestling. Like at what point did you know that professional wrestling was something that you either thought you could do or that you wanted to do for a living?
Well, I've been a fan since I was 6 years old. Again, I never thought I could do it. I played baseball from Little League through college. I'm actually playing baseball again, which has been super fun. But once I stopped playing baseball in college, it was trying to figure out what I could do athletically and creatively to fill that time. So I was so used to being on the field for 5-6 hours a day. And my friends and I, right before we had this big hurricane in New Jersey, everybody was stuck in the house. We were bored, and we made this almost like backyard wrestling video with like a storyline on YouTube, and it caught on locally. We made a little series out of it, and the biggest feedback that I got was like, "You look like you like done this before. I ever thought about becoming one." And that was kind of when the first seed was planted in my head, where I went, maybe this is something that I could pursue. And I started looking into it a lot more seriously. And then I met Santino Morella at the gym. I took a photo with him and I walked away, and he said, "Hey, you look like a pro wrestler. Have you ever thought about becoming one?" And I was like, "Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how I can get into this." And he gave me the number to Pat Buck, who's the owner and creator of Creative Pro Wrestling Academy in New Jersey and in Long Island. He's also currently a producer agent here at AEW. And I spoke with Pat, went to the school the next week, and 12 years later, here I am.
So you tried out for NXT at one point, and that kind of didn't work out. What kind of kept you going through that? Was that just a huge setback for you, or was that sort of part of the plan? Because that was still pretty fairly early on after you started that you kind of had that tryout. But yeah, kind of describe your feelings, kind of then, and what kind of kept you going.
Yeah, I had two NXT tryouts in 2015. The first one was at the Arnold Classic, and the second one was at the Performance Center. I did really well physically, did horrible in the promo. It was terrible. They told me no, and that was one of the hardest days of my life because my grandma also passed that day. I got the news within like an hour of each other, so it was like a 1-2 punch to the gut. And for, I would say, a good month or so, I was like, I felt down and out. It was the first time in my life where I felt like everything was, sorry, the second time in my life where I felt like everything was heavy on top of being in the closet. And I'm a very positive, determined person. I like to turn negatives into positives. And I kind of woke up one day and went, this is not how I'm going to keep existing. I need to, one, prove them wrong, and two, do this for my grandmother. So I got up and I did everything I could to transform myself into a better performer. And that meant training harder. That meant going to acting classes, improv classes, doing improv shows, sketch comedy shows, anything to help bring out that inner personality that I knew I had, but I was just too, I don't know what it was. I would come to figure out it was me being in the closet. Once I came out and I was able to just be myself, and those walls kind of came crashing down around me, I was able to just authentically be me, and that all kind of shined through. And I just used that hard work that my parents drilled into me, the determination and the drive that I learned from sports, playing baseball, to just really propel myself forward and trying to figure out how to get this done.
How did you end up hooking up with Max?
So that was a Tony Khan thing. Max is a student at Creative Pro Wrestling Academy in Long Island. I was in Jersey. We crossed paths a couple of times. I used to go out there to train. I think we might have wrestled each other once or twice in like a big scramble match. But I had just accepted an offer from NXT, and then Tony found out and flew me down to Jacksonville to meet with him. And as I was going to the arena, I ran into Castor, who happened to be in a similar boat, and we had no idea we were there to go talk to Tony together. We walked in, and Tony pretty much laid out like, "Hey, I like you two. I want to bring you both in, put you both together, and call you a tag team, The Acclaimed." And I'm like, "Great. Like, I don't know what that is, but that sounds amazing." And we went out. We had a tag match against best friends, Trent and Chuck, and we had a great match. And next thing you know, we were offered the contracts and we were off and running.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the chemistry that you two have together, because that thing, like you said, I mean, you guys just kind of get hooked up together. But I guess, how soon did you know you guys kind of had that chemistry? And then obviously the whole Scissor Me Daddy, all that stuff is just completely taking a life of its own, which is very awesome to see. But yeah, kind of describe just sort of the journey that you guys have had together at this point.
I think a lot of it was getting to know each other early on. Like, we knew there was something there, and we also established like, hey, as opposed to being tag partners, we got to get to know each other on a personal level. So we spent a lot of time talking with each other, figuring out, where our head is at in terms of how we approach the business, how we approach matches. And the more we did that, and the more we kept having matches together, the more we realized that we were just, I guess, meant to tag together. We had great chemistry. We had great banter. I was trying to figure out what my end of the Acclaimed was, because my only piece of advice came from Cody, which was, hey, you're the hype man. Whatever Castor says in his rap is the craziest, best diss you've ever heard in your entire life. But I knew there had to be more layers to that. So my journey ended up pretty much coming to when the whole scissoring stuff started coming around, and I really felt comfortable within the Acclaimed. Caster was doing his thing every single week, and I think once we started putting all the pieces together, which included me finding myself as a on-screen personality, bringing Billy in, combining that with how charismatic Caster is and how controversial Caster is, putting that all together into one big package, it just ended up being magic.
Kind of speaking to his sort of the controversial side of Max a little bit with some of his raps, and his raps are always super clever. So some of them, obviously can rub some people the wrong way because he's dissing people at it, but it's kind of obviously it's part of his character too. But has there ever been like a rap that you guys have either shot down that you could share with us, or any ones that he actually did that you, maybe in the time the reaction wasn't maybe what you guys wanted or expected?
There are times where especially back, the creative process has changed a lot with how we go about things. In the beginning, we would do a lot of sitting down and seeing what was out there in terms of what's in the news, what could we touch on. There have been a lot of times I was like, no, we can't say that. A lot of times now, I'll whatever I see throughout the day or throughout the week, I might give to him, and then he goes off into his own creative process. I won't see him for an hour or two, and he'll come back and he'll go, I'm ready for it, and we'll go out there and we'll do it. Sometimes I like to know, sometimes I don't like to know, because I want my reactions to be authentic, just like the people in the ring, because we don't tell them, we never have, because we want them to be just as in shock as everybody else. So it's always fun seeing people's reactions and then trying to not get beat up when they get angry.
Yeah, has it ever gotten heat with anybody that or have his raps ever gotten heat with anybody in the ring that kind of didn't know it was coming, or is it pretty open, and are they pretty accepting and kind of understand that anything's kind of fair game?
Well, the most infamous one was the one with Moxley, where Caster brought up Renee in the Oral Sessions podcast, just a little bit worded a little bit differently. And I remember getting in the ring, and before I used to yell the city, I would yell AEW, and I yelled, I think I got A out, and Moxie was just like a bus just obliterated me, and out I went. I had no idea that was coming. I just remember screaming, and the next thing you know, I was on the floor. So I don't think he liked that line.
Who would you say? Obviously, there's a big veteran presence, kind of within the locker room at AEW, and certainly in the tag division, we know with guys like FTR and stuff there. But who would you say you learned the most from in your time at AEW?
Well, definitely Billy. Billy being a father figure, literally and figuratively, being a mentor to us. We get to talk with him every single day in our group chat. We get to work with him every single week, and being able to have that two-way avenue of communication with him, where it's not just whatever I say goes. It's, hey, we have this idea, let's talk about it. And we discuss it. We have team meetings every single week, and he will break down as to why it's a good idea or why it's a bad idea, to make sure that we're learning. It's not just a yes or no type thing. So being able to work with him has been absolutely phenomenal. Being able to learn from him is fantastic. But we have so many incredible veterans on the roster too, that we've been able to pick their brains along the way, and just kind of take little bits and pieces of things that we found to be helpful.
Kind of looking ahead, within the next 5 years, you guys have accomplished a lot, obviously in your time at AEW, but kind of looking, if you had a crystal ball and you could look kind of 5 years ahead from now, where would you like to see the Acclaimed and yourself personally?
I want to see us still the most wins in the history of the company. I'd love to see a couple more tag team championship reigns under our belt, because I still feel like we have a lot more in the tank. We have another run in us. Our first one was cut short by those ass boys. So I feel like we have a lot more in us, and just got to get the ball rolling. And right now we're trying to do that with fighting and rebelling against our evil executive vice presidents and the elite. So it starts with them.
So do you know, kind of speaking to this weekend, obviously you're going to be here for the toy show. Will you guys be a part of Collision too? Do you know, or have you guys worked that out yet?
Yes, the Acclaimed will be double duty this week. We will be at AEW Dynamite, and we will be at AEW Collision in Youngstown, Ohio. So make sure you're there. We'll also be at Toyhio early in the day, full squad, Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. So it's a packed week. It's a week of the Acclaimed. I'm excited for it. I'm ready for it. About to hit the gym after this and make sure I look good for it. Man, I'm excited.
Well, nice, brother. Well, one more question here, Anthony, and I'll let you go, man. And again, thank you so much for the time. But I know
Sure.
you played baseball for a number of years, and you're playing now again, as you mentioned. What are there any similarities between playing baseball and professional wrestling, or are they just kind of two separate worlds?
I think they're kind of two separate worlds, but I think the fun part about the team that I'm playing on, that's called the Valley Boys, is they're a social media content creation team, and the person who runs is a kid by the name of Stephen Kinez. He found that there's a bit of a lapse on the entertainment side in baseball. Like, I guess the old guard of baseball doesn't like the over the top personalities. So he's trying to bring that personality to baseball through social media. So the team basically consists of a bunch of characters. There's storylines in between the team running throughout, and the backdrop is baseball. And the second I heard that, I was like, this sounds exactly like pro wrestling. I get to be an over-the-top personality, but I also get to do it while playing baseball. So I feel like that has been the closest that I could combine the two, and I've been having a fantastic time. It's been really fun to be able to mix both worlds and also do two of my passions at once. So I've been kind of jealous of Caster because he has his love of music. He's been doing the music forever. He gets to combine that with pro wrestling, and now I get to do baseball and wrestling. There's some opportunities that I'm hoping come to fruition that will also continue to combine them. So I'm really excited.
Nice, man. So one more quick one. Your top 3 San Francisco Giants of all time. That's your team, right? The Giants?
Yes.
So,
Okay. Barry Bonds has to be number 1. Number 2, I'd go Buster Posey. And number 3 probably would have to be probably Madison Bumgarner because of how incredible he was throughout those 3 years with his pitching. But I love Tim Lincecum, and I'll probably have to put him in there too. Tied with 3 because he's one of my favorite pitchers. So Barry goes Lincecum and Mad Bum.
I got you, man. I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan, and you guys, every time we run into the Giants, every time we go out that way, it just seems like we're always losing. At least in the recent years, it's like, please let's not go to San Francisco because it doesn't end well for us.
Well, actually, speaking of the Reds, I've been talking some crap back and forth with Brandon Phillips. We still haven't done our little home run derby. We trip back and forth at each other. Now that I'm in prime form, getting my swing back, I want to get on the field and challenge him. So, Brandon, if you can hear me, we'll make the Giants versus Reds thing, home run derby, courtesy of the 5.
Nice, man. Well, there's a Cincinnati Red that might have made a decent professional wrestler too. Is Brandon Phillips always had a mouth on him, man. He was not afraid to was definitely not afraid to be vocal,
Yeah, he's a good dude, but he won't be.
But yeah.